I worry that humans will grow up in a sort of lifelong kindergarten, protected from every harsh and perilous thing. Do not spend your life in anticipation of recovery from an emergency that could turn out to be life itself. Come with me. The fugitive raises the edge of the tarp and shows Helen the boy. It is a no of sorts. What is this, kindergarten, says Helen. I'm his mom. He's a robot? Part robot. A half-bot? They will kill him. They'll try. I will protect him if I can. Represent Helen's silence with an open sign. The brain is bipartisan, Helen says in the end, and there is no apartheid in the heart. Helen is looking out over the desert, tracking some sort of motion in the bushes. A robot has no heart. A heart is between you and me, Helen says. You and him, that is. It cups its ear, stands for a minute like that, then says, leaving, I'm going to draw them away. I can hold out a day or two, a week at most, then they'll find you. Make what you can of the time you have left. Tell the boy, what? Blue eyes gleaming, going, gone. Stories. The following day, Simon and the robot come on a small war. Militants are attacking robots with bombs and therapy. The robots are taking turns finessing their way perilously close to the humans, taking coup, then trying to return without injury. One robot falls and a militant bends over it, advancing a steel file towards its data port. The robot, half rising, slugs the human, who spews orange on the playing field. Pop go the people, jeers Simon. Contain your enthusiasm, says the robot. In this family, we do not celebrate wretchedness, especially when we suspect that it is deserved. Two humans are bending over a robot, stripping it of reusable parts. One pulls a fan away from the other. That's mine, you half-bot. What's a half-bot, Simon says. The issue of a robot and a human. Like me. Like you. Simon's silence. The robot and Simon have stopped in the ruins of a city. The robot is adding a cup of oil to its system. Simon is kicking a ball at a wall. The boy's nose is congested, the harsh salt, the dust, the dry heat. Simon says, represent this visually. The robot puts its ear to the earth, then sets it back in its head. Time to go, says the robot. People are coming. It picks up the boy and sets out. Simon says, will they kill me? They'll try, as I will try to protect you. Why? The dust fumes up and the robot covers Simon's head with its skirt. I'm your mom, says the robot, and a bandit. The S800 is made of the following parts. Head, hands, rotating steel bezels, a quality desalination system, oil and salt and seawater, speech, silence, dystopian science fiction stories. Emotions such as worry and relief, a sense of history, a sense of style, a basic ethical system, belief in progress and in taking turns. July afternoons, Balkan War documents, videos of people playing soccer, reusable dry cleaning bags, the perfume of oranges. Recognition of the complexity of the world. Flair. Simon says, define a robot as a place where a system of organization meets the complexity of the world. Afternoon. It is the great summer of the world. Their prints are on the white desert like vocabulary. What do they say? That the day has bottomed out. Time averts its face from what's coming. The boy begins to lag. This sucks, he says. I don't like this part of the story. It would be no part of prudence to stop. This is not a game. We are being followed by those who live to injure or kill such as we. I don't care, but I care. Who are you? You're just a robot. I am a robot. We will debate your use of just when you're in a better mood. Simon begins belching repetitively. Do me a favor, says the robot. What? Simon says sourly. Teach me the art of belching. You can't belch, you're a robot. Try me. Silence. Well, says Simon, begin by... Late that day, they come to a bulldozed city. The robot finds the foundation of a house still intact and tacks a tarp to one remaining wall to make a tent. We'll shelter here tonight. It issues water into a cup and hands it to Simon, pulls an orange and some olives out of a bag, for itself a cup of oil. Simon smiling in cautious optimism, robot smiling in a more logistical way. The sunset framed by one wall and an arc of blue tarp. It is a household. People say humans are better than robots, Simon says experimentally. Bosh, said the robot. Simon smiles. Mom, are we people? What does Simon say? He thought. Simon says we are people, says Simon. Then we're people, said the robot. Simon climbed into the robot's arms. I have a story, says Simon. A boy called Simon? A boy called Simon fell down a well and came up in a place where robots are as huge as worlds and people live in their arms. And day is when the robot's eyes are on them and night is when they look away. I know that story, said the robot, but there's more to it. The robots like the people so much that they can't take their eyes off them, so the day goes on and on. When I was a child, I salted a slug. Its death was harsh. It rolled and steamed. I did not think about the humid world I killed in it, but now I think that the world lives in slugs as in children, in bushes, in leopards, in robots. A death is a death. Didn't I have a heart? I did, but the heart must be taught. Now I imagine the driest world, a desert of salt. I salt my own page. Salt falls on my hand as I work. I salt my human heart. I steam, I roll, ravaged by my white vocabulary. The salt is mounting, salt showers on the page is white, the world disappears. Simon says, turn the page. It is day. It is the day. Helen said they would come. Robots are not sentimental, and they have come. The bushes stir, dust rises, the company is rumbling over bushes and salt banks, belching exhaust. The boy picks up the boy, runs. As he runs, he says, it's time for a story. A boy called Simon, Simon says. A boy called Simon fell down a well and came up in a place where time ran not toward the future, but back toward the past. The future was history, and it was well documented. It was the past about which people had no information and made up stories, full of remarkable machines that they called science fiction. As they lived, their lives withdrew. The history that they still anticipated grew shorter, and they were haunted by the deep silence of the past. One said, I think I was a leopard. I lived in the ruins of a great city. I killed people. I worried a small boy in front of his mother. My eyes were slow and gold. His companion said, I think I was that boy, but you did not worry but protect me from the earthquake that ruined that city. And 6 years later, I developed machines that could hold an ethical debate with themselves. As people came to the end of their lives, more and more of their past was fiction, and they lived with great flair. They went to death with regret and also cheer, like people reaching the end of a great story. The boy is clinging to a handful of skirt. The company in orange loads, aims, advances. Simon says, draw fast now. Attack the page with blue, with orange, with black and gold and white. Simon says, Mom? The world explodes. This story is a robot, and this robot will contain my world after my death. A world I did not like very much at times, but whose better parts I hold in my heart, intact and gleaming. In me is the heat of salt and the wretchedness of a battered robot standing in the center of a great desert holding a blue cap. A fugitive gold plays over the landscape at the end of the day, and the perfume of the dusty bushes rises like a sunset for the nose. The prints that the robot's feet and those of the headhunters have left, those that the headhunters have left in the salt turn blue. The robot advances 1 foot, then the other. Simon says, draw now. Draw with cautious emotion, a vision that is not as unusual as one would like. Human remains blended with parts of a machine. Part buried in the salt, they look like the vocabulary of a new language, one in which better things could be said. The logistical complexities of identifying, discriminating, and dividing them are not difficult for a robot. Rooting in the salted ruins, the robot finds an eye, its pupil rolling to review its new circumstances, puts it in its skirt, finds an arm covered in salt, a buried nose, recognizes a battered ear in the white dust, a hand, gathers these things into its skirt. On a debris-strewn median strip is a part of the head that the headhunters did not find, its software still intact. The robot adds that. It is like picking over a page of the New York Times, looking for vocabulary, the vocabulary of the new life that is coming. Patient, the robot sorts the parts, fits member to member, bonds ear to his ear, eye to his eye, files an edge for a better fit, incorporates software. Simon says, draw a head with 3 ears, 3 eyes, 2 noses, 2 brains. The new nose is drawing in the perfume of oil and seawater. The new brain is saying, go. Simon says, imagine a robot making for the coast, going down to the harbor, finding there, moving on the water, bumping repetitively against the port, a thing that is not in its vocabulary, that was removed from its vocabulary, perhaps, with all that it suggests, a way out. But look, Simon says, people can think new things, including people who are robots, and he recognizes it as a sort of seawater truck. Imagine him setting out, one way, then the other, tacking, they call it. They left that part of his vocabulary intact. On a blue and moving road, in blue and moving hills. When a storm hits, he holds on. When the seawater comes in, he bails. From time to time, he belches. He keeps the coast on his left. He's looking for a new harbor. Simon says, tell a story. Say that a boy falls down a well in a robot's head and comes up in his heart. Say that the robot says, call me Simon, and it is Simon. This story was Simon's story, but now it's mine and yours as well. You're all mixed race, for language is a sort of software, and there's a robot in your head telling stories. Say that the robot says, that Simon says, look at this page, look here, at this machine part, this sign, this one here, underscore here. The bleak landscape is language-strewn. The parts of this story are stirring in the mist. Robot, Simon, headhunters, salt, fumes, floral. This is the vocabulary of the future. Simon says, pick up a handful of parts, test them. Are they fair, intact, gleaming? This is a laboratory, so experiment. Simon says, be a hacker. Hack this world. Revise this story, or make it a better one. Title it, Simon says,